Today we hold Sean Phillip Stephenson and his family and his friends, his co-workers and his extended family of community members in our collective hearts on what would have been Sean's 38th birthday today. We are gathered to celebrate Sean's life, but also here in this space on this day to honor our own feelings of grief in Sean's passing. We are here to recognize the hole in our hearts and the loss that we feel, and to do so as a community together who understands that we are not alone in our grief either. We live with and we carry it together. We're here to show support and comfort to Sean's family, while also being present with our own emotions, leaning on one another for support and finding comfort in the embraces of the people who Sean loved. And that's us here today, and those of you live streaming at home as well. Thank you for being here. My name is Michael. I'm Sean's cousin, and I am honored to share a few stories about Sean's life and the legacy that he leaves in the world and the mark that he made on all of us as well. These stories, they come from Sean's mom, Sandy, and his nurse of 18 years, Maria, and her family, along with tales from Sean's longtime friends, Steve and Cheryl and Jamie at Tad's Lighthouse and the Marina. 38 years ago today, Sean met the world in Raleigh, North Carolina. In fact, he was so excited to join the hustle and bustle, he was even early, which it did require a stay in the neonatal intensive care unit. From the very beginning of Sean's life, it was moment to moment and touch and go. But from that moment until his last breath, Sean's mom, Sandy, was there every step of the way, cheering on her Shawnee Pooh and rooting for her guy in the Superman t-shirt, who we knew as Super Sean. Deep at Sean's core, he held a secret inner wisdom, a softness in a sea of calm and tenderness, the humble acceptance of himself and the others that he met on his journey as well. Animals and babies, they sensed it too. They were drawn to Sean. Like once a week, after work shredding papers, Sean would have dinner at his nurse Maria's house with her family. And the moment that Sean came through the door, the family's dog Levi would jump into Sean's lap. But you would too if Sean was going to rub your belly for 2 hours. At the dinner table, Maria's husband Brian, he would make Sean laugh with Scooby-Doo voices, or by taking the magnet for Sean's pacemaker and using it to pick up metal objects on the table, like forks and spoons. And Sean, he was very serious and quick to remind Brian, it's not a toy. During one of these dinners, the president was on television. Sean was engrossed with what the president was saying and refused to allow anyone else to change the channel. Sean was a concerned citizen of the United States of America, whose leader was addressing the nation. He was patriotic and a patriot. That doesn't mean that Sean didn't have his faults. He could be fiercely stubborn. He was also a man. Is it a coincidence? The world may never know. I don't know. But we do know that if you tried to hurry Sean along, he would go slower. Sometimes you didn't know if he was being stubborn or having a seizure, so you would check in with him. Do you need the magnet? And he'd shake his head no. He was taking time for himself, just having a private moment. In a life so filled with doctors and nurses and hospital stays or round-the-clock monitoring, it must have been difficult for Sean to carve out private time. He didn't experience being alone all too often. But maybe that's why he wandered. When Sean was 4, with winter right around the corner, he gave everyone a scare one morning. It was early. Sean's dad, Phil, had just left for work, and Sean heard the door of the house open and close, so he left his bedroom to investigate. Down off the bed and outside, out the side door to the house, Sean began exploring the neighborhood in his pajamas, in November? When Sandy, she searched the house, Sean wasn't inside, so she rushed out the door to look for him, but Sean was gone. Soon, Phil returned home from work. Grandpa and Grandma Vensky were on their way up to help look too. The police came, and while everyone looked for Sean, in the back of their minds ran thoughts of Jacob Wetterling's disappearance only weeks earlier. As the commotion played out, Sean was the next block over, comfortably playing at a neighbor's house. The neighbor saw preschool Sean in the cold and took him in. 2 excruciating hours later, the neighbor called the police to report finding a child, and the police returned Sean, safe and sound, though quite excited to get to ride in a real squad car. It may have been Sean's first adventure, but it was not his last. 4 years later, Sandy was at work at the Buffalo Hospital when a coworker told her that someone special was there to see her. Sean rode his bike from their home to the hospital to see his mama. He wasn't afraid of crossing the multi-lane highways or navigating traffic. He had a mission to do, to get to see his mom, and he wasn't about to let rush hour stop him. He was fearless and driven by a tender love of animals. When he was 10, Sean set out on another adventure. This time, he packed a compass and snacks. He wrapped his items in a kerchief and put it at the end of a stick. He set out on a journey to Maple Lake to see the litter of 11 puppies his then nurse's dog recently delivered. Unfortunately, Sean did not make that destination. He was stopped by a Wright County Sheriff's deputy sometime after 3 a.m. on Highway 55, where he had walked roughly halfway between home and Maple Lake. After this incident, the family put an alarm on the door, ensuring that Sean's future travels were sanctioned from then on. Despite his solo adventures and wandering, Sean was a bit of a social butterfly. His smile and playful attitude allowed him into the heart of each person he met in minutes. He would be out grocery shopping with his mom, and suddenly someone would walk up to Sean and give him a big hi and hello. And it sounds nice, right, to be greeted like that? But with so many people in the community falling in love with Sean, it left his mom, Sandy, wondering, who are you and why are you talking to my son? How do you know my son? Some of Sean's happiest memories involved just being a kid. Growing up, Sean knew that he was different, but he didn't want to be treated any differently. He spent so much time being sick in the hospital. He was sick of being sick, and maybe that's why one day he pulled the fire alarm in the hospital too. Sean embraced each opportunity to be a kid, to play. He loved four-wheeling and cruising the water on his cousin Daniel's pontoon, or getting to ride atop an elephant at the Shriners Circus with his cousin Joey. Once his cousin Joey, he let Sean drive a power boat one afternoon on Lake Waconia. The moment that Sean commanded the captain's seat, he hit the gas, burying the throttle deep into the dash with the nose of the boat shooting skyward. Well, what's that up in the air? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Super Sean. In a boat, everything was happening so fast, and Sandy remembers, we were flying. But she couldn't tell how high up they were because everyone was blinded by Sean's smile. Sean loved going to school where he'd get to see his friends. And when Sean was first sick, though, the school, they struggled to understand his unique needs. The school thought Sean was maybe having behavioral issues, but it wasn't until they began monitoring him on camera and saw how his medical condition was actually impacting his life. So it was decided that Sean would move to high school early. This would allow him to be in class with a set of trained professionals to care for him and be taught by teachers who got Sean and his sense of humor, which was such a relief for Sean's family. Because in high school, Sean discovered his favorite class, home living, a course similar to what you'd call home economics or family and consumer science. Sean learned how to clean the house and make simple meals, wash dishes, and sew pillows. He loved this class because it empowered him. It gave him agency and allowed him to see how the skills that he was learning translated into helping care for his family at home. Sean talked about this class for years. After high school, Sean went to Pride Transitions, a specially designed instructional program where he explored what kind of work he could do. And this led Sean to working in this very church. And here we are in the same faith community where Sean grew up and where he used to work. He referred to this place as God's house. While on the job, his favorite responsibilities were ensuring the toys in the nursery were clean. And yes, that also meant he got to play with them. But he was a stickler for quality assurance. Growing up in this church as a little boy, Sean learned the song, "Jesus Loves Me." And during his time in hospice, Sean and his music therapist would sing "Jesus Loves Me" together. Now, in honor of that little boy and the man that he became, let's sing out just the first verse and the chorus together. I'll get us started, but please join in, okay? Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. In 2011, Sean, he changed jobs, and he became an employee and friend of Tad's Lighthouse in the marina, where he shredded papers. Sandy remembers one day he came home with a picture of flowers that he didn't shred. "Why didn't you shred these, Sean?" Then he presented the bouquet and said, "I got you flowers, Mom." He loved how at work you could paint a rock or hide a rock or go and hunt and find another. He would paint all kinds of rocks. Each day he would take a walk with Maria, searching rock gardens for that one special stone to bring back to his office and place on his windowsill, which eventually filled up over the years. Sean had special relationships with a lot of people, and he had the best time with his friends at Tad's Lighthouse. They got him. Every day before work, Sean and Cheryl, they had an entire comedy routine that they would do. Sean loved to see Steve and Cheryl coming into work wearing sunglasses, and he always called Cheryl Lamb and Steve Cool Dude, which if you ask Sean's godfather and Uncle Steve, he'd probably just say, being a cool dude is what Steves do. When it was break time, Sean always enjoyed a piece of chocolate for dessert after lunch. This had Sean's colleague, Jamie, teasing and asking him every day, "Did you bring me any?" And 99% of the time, Sean would say, "No, next time." And every once in a while, Sean would bring chocolate for Jamie, and his kindness always made her day. During the times when they worked downtown Buffalo together, Sean would go to Coburn's to search for a hidden purple cow in the store. Soon, Sean was so good at finding the purple cow, Coburn's actually allowed him to hide it. Then when the downtown location closed, the Coburn staff signed the purple cow and they gifted it to Sean. You could always tell which holiday or festivity or special event was coming up because of what Sean was wearing. He loved to be festive. He was a very festive dresser because festive is fun, which explains why Sean also had one of Buffalo's largest collections of colorful themed and specialty socks. He wore a new pair every day. Around the holidays like Halloween and Christmas, Sean took festive to a whole new level. He would disappear, and we would all be introduced to this creature with a heart 2 sizes too small. Obviously, we all knew that it was Sean because his heart's too big to play a mean Mr. Grinch. But his character and costume work were inspiring. He made certain to hold his posture in such a way that you were always looking at the Grinch's face on his hoodie. He was a dedicated man to delighting others because Sean was fun and playful, sweet and kind. He would tease you or throw out a wisecrack, joke, or riddle. But most of all, Sean always had a smile for everyone every day. That doesn't mean that he wasn't sassy, though. Sean's language was short, sweet, and honest. He was a genuine matter-of-fact kind of guy, meaning don't ask Sean the questions you don't want the answers to. For instance, if you asked Sean if he liked your shirt, he might tell you the honest truth. No. Or, what does he think of your new haircut? It'll grow back. Or if you're a man who just happened to have his toenails painted a bright color, Sean would underscore how weird that was for him to see. Because having an opinion is what artists do. Sean was an artist, a gift that he inherited from his dad, Phil. Sean was a power colorer who could cut craft paper with Crayola. He was happy to create and share his work with others. He took such a thoughtful approach to each piece he created, working extra hard if the work was for someone special. It would take him days to color each picture just right. He needed it to be perfect. Sean was proud of his pictures, and for the last several years, all of his creations, they had a bright yellow or multicolored sun on them. Sean used to say, "We always need more sunshine." Did any of you ever receive one of Sean's pieces of art? Raise your hand if Sean ever colored for you. Yeah, same. We're the lucky ones. Perhaps more than anything, after, of course, his love for his mother and animals and babies, Sean loved the thrill of winning. Not only was he a Special Olympic bowling champion with trophies and medals, but he was also a ruthless Uno card game master who offered you no mercy. He wasn't just good at Uno, he was great. In our hearts, he's not one of a kind, he's numero uno of a kind. He also had a savvy and unbridled passion for playing bingo at work. He played weekly at Tad's Lighthouse. During games, Sean would sit directly across from Cheryl, the bingo caller. And she'd call the number and Sean would check his card. But if Cheryl wasn't calling more of the numbers that Sean needed to win, he would start to give her the stink eye. He was fiercely and enjoyably competitive. And when Sean was no longer able to work, he still was able to play bingo remotely at home. During Sean's last bingo game, he won 3 games. And although he was weak, he used every bit of his energy to call out, "Bingo, bingo, bingo, bingo!" Sean loved being an uncle. He just didn't want you to call him one. He had a special relationship with his sister's daughter, Lily. When he'd come home from work, Lily and Sean would play with little wind-up toys for hours. Lily would give Sean a toy, and one by one, they would clear out their entire toy chest. And then when they got to the end, they would return them one by one, hand in hand, content together. When Sean came home from the hospital the last time, he wasn't able to be at Lily's level on the floor among the toys and the stuffed animals. So instead, Lily would crawl up onto the bed with Sean and then begin the process of piling toys and stuffed animals up around her companion. She always wanted to be by Sean. They were connected. And she knew that Sean was special and that he had special needs that required attention. And when those moments came, Lily would wait patiently, seated calmly next to her buddy. She got it. In all of the ups and downs of Sean's life, the only time that he ever truly showed any real sadness was when his grandmother entered hospice. They'd always been close, but this also brought them closer together. At the time, Grandma, she was losing her appetite a little bit, and she would try to get Sean to help her clean her plate, which we all know Sean could do. I mean, Maria's family, they even called Sean their Mikey because he'll eat anything. But Sean, he would decline and say, "No, Grandma, you gotta eat." And she'd say, "No, you eat." And he'd say, "No, you." He recognized the gravity of that situation. He was there by her side, gently holding Grandma's hand, forgoing his own rest and care. For hours, he kept watch over Grandma from the rocking chair next to her bed, and his focus and care were so great then that Sean, he wasn't having any seizures. He also wasn't sleeping much either, which means he should have been much more crabby, but he wasn't. He knew that he was Sandy's rock. Strong and stoic, he understood the cycle of life deeply and knew Grandma's time was precious. And when she passed, Sean teared up. And now we are the ones who are tearing up, thinking of Sean and all that we'll miss about him. For his mom, Sandy, she'll miss Sean's hugs the most. How at the end of the day, when they were saying their goodnights and I love you, Sean would pull her into him and hold her so tight it felt like he was imprinting his love on every fiber of her being. And when Sean passed, it was Sandy who was hugging Sean. From beginning to end, she was there watching out and caring for him. She never gave up on him, and he never gave up on himself. Each time a seizure or surgery took the wind from Sean's sails, he got up again, and he lived his life as if nothing happened. No person is more proud of Sean's attitude and resilience than his mom, Sandy. And in spite of these difficulties, he never let them get him down. He lived life with a simple love and accepted himself and others as they are. Sean was happy to be happy and wielded a smile that could fill any stranger's heart with joy. He was a blessing to all of us. May the tender-hearted, calm, courageous, and playful way that Sean Phillip Stephenson lived his life be an inspiration to all of us for all of the days and months and years to come. Here's to you, Sean. Happy birthday, buddy.